Hello and welcome to week 7 in psychology seminar. And what we're going to be doing this week is we're going to be looking at reading. Sort of reading, writing, and arithmetic is going to be the next 3 chapters. And our first part of that, the reading, is going to be having you encounter, possibly for the first time ever, a research article published in an academic journal. This is considered in the field of psychology primary research, the raw data from which we draw in order to come up with theories and statistics and whatnot to explain the human experience. So the first thing to recognize in this sort of activity is that you are not the audience for this literature. You probably have taken some writing classes. You probably have said and learned that when you are writing something, you have to keep in mind your audience. So you're going to use the language, the approach, the style, whatever, specific to that audience. If you're writing a letter to your grandmother, is different than writing a research paper for your school. You use different language. In the academic journals, the psychologists that write in those journals, and in every field of science, they are writing to other scientists. There's assumptions made about the understanding of research, about the language, about statistics, about how the thought processes relating to previous research that they assume the reader is going to have, and you will enter this without having that. This stuff is going to be difficult to read, and that is perfectly fine. It takes time to get used to what you can actually get out of those articles, and over time you'll get better at them and better at them. I've been reading research articles for over 30 years, and I still don't really enjoy them very much. I know how to get what I want out of them. I know how to find what I'm looking for. I know how to evaluate them. But it's not my favorite. If I want to fall asleep at night, just take out a few of those, start reading those, trying to go into depth, and I'll knock myself right out. So I feel what this is. However, in this activity, what you're going to be doing is finding a research article so you understand what they are, what they entail, and how to use them to get what you want out of them. Because from this point forward, the resources that you're going to be expected to use for all of your papers and all of the different assignments that's going to come in this program, I'm going to write peer-reviewed journal. That's where you need to get that information. It's not supposed to be the easy way to find out this information, but it is the primary source. When we're looking for where are the facts, they're difficult to find because they are embedded in this literature that is not meant for just casual reading. So, the only thing that's due this week is for you to write a review of an article. It's the assignment, Chapter 5 assignment. And in the course book, I walk you through some processes on finding an article and then outline what I want you to get out of that article and report out in the paper. So let's take a look at the assessment section for Chapter 5. You see that the idea here is to be able to locate research that is peer-reviewed. So as we look through these instructions, right here, we're going to first, how do you pick a topic? Now, topics in psychology, if you take your Introduction to Psychology book and you open it up, anything that's bold is a topic in psychology. Those are all the things that psychology, it's vocabulary. So each one of those is a topic. And often we refine that more by asking a question about that topic. So we might open up that book, we see the word personality, but then we'll say, well, what about personality? Can't write a little paper about personality. You can teach a whole course about personality. You could probably teach a whole course about every one of those bold titles. but we might ask ourselves a question like, what is the effect of early childhood negative experiences on personality development? Well, there's one. So I will ask a question about that, and from that point, I'm then going to search for if there's anybody that has thought about that or done research on that. And I will tell you, you would be hard pressed to come up with a question that somebody hasn't asked in some way or form. So I'm going to walk you through this process here. If you can't come up with a question, in the course book, I have given you a list of controversial topics. So if you go to that list right here, you see controversial topics, it will open up in a link, and there's a whole list of different topics there. The next link here is the KVCC library page. And so if I go to that one, I'm going to open up that link. And what you have here is all the databases. Okay, and you can we'll look at Academic Search Complete. And you have fields that you can put into your terms. And what you want to do is if I'm going to look at, the having negative things that happen to you when you're a child are called adverse child experience, or ACEs, and personality development. So I want to look to see if there's anything out about ACEs and personality development. So I can put in here, in quotes, adverse childhood experiences and personality development. And then select the field. I'm going to just put that if it's just anything in there. So all text. That'll look for those quotes in the text. So I search. Now, if I look down here, I can see I can click full text, and I can also click peer reviewed. So I want to do that, and I click peer reviewed. So this is going to give me articles where I have the entire thing. I don't have to borrow it from anywhere, and it's going to make sure they're all peer reviewed. So let's do this search. Okay. And there we go. Now, capture that very well. So here we have 84 hits. Here's the impact of adverse childhood experiences, personality disorders and development, effects of adverse childhood experience. There, all of these articles, all of these from 2022 to 2024. It wasn't capture my cursor moving there, but that's how you use EBSCO, which is our online database, to find articles. You just put in those terms and quotes, pick one of those articles. But I want to show you another way, and that way is going to be using Google. So let's take a look at Google. Now, what I want to get here is not just regular Google, but a service called Google Scholar. Now, Google Scholar, right there, it looks just like Google, except it has that word scholar in it. And this is specifically to look up articles, or in this case, case law. It kind of gives a search for that. We'll use case law. You can see my previous searches here from the research I'm doing. And we're going to put in, again, adverse childhood experiences. There, it kind of gives me that. Put that in quotes. And personality development. Okay, so I get all these articles. Now, this is a very rich source of all these things. You can also limit the date here. Just say we're going to go from 2020. Let's look at those. So the effects of childhood experiences on adult personality psychopathology. Great. But what I want you to point out is over here, I want you to take a look at these links right over here. When there's a link on this side, that means you can access the full text version of that article. So let's look specifically at right there. Adverse childhood experiences, personality and crime, distinct associations among high-risk samples of institutionalized youth. I hit that, and this is going to give me, it's going to download actually, this article right here, and there we go. I have the full article. Look at that. Look how many pages there are. Just tons of pages, all kinds of data. Don't be intimidated by that. Articles are long. They contain a lot of information, a lot of background information as to what's going on. But within this article, there are elements that you can still read. One of the most important ones is the summary right at the beginning. Well, look, almost every single one of them is going to have what's called an abstract. And right here, this page right here, that summarizes the whole study. Now, I encourage you, you could probably read this and do the assignment, but I encourage you to kind of kind of go through this, kind of see the writing, what's going on. Then you're going to get down to a section here, the methods, how they actually conducted their study, something about the participants, the different measures that they use. How do they measure ACEs? How do they measure psychopathic traits, temperament, personality disorders, psychiatric disorders, delinquency, socio-demographics? This is all the different ways in which they're collecting information, the statistical analysis down to the results. Here's all the statistics and numbers. And then finally, we're going to get into discussion, and they look at all the different thoughts that they have about their data and what it means in terms of their research questions. So, and then they have all these references at the end. So the structure of the papers are very similar. It has an introduction, has a methods sections, has the results, has the discussion, the abstracts at the top, kind of getting used to that structure of how things and where you can find information in them. That's the whole purpose of this assignment. So once you have discovered where your article is, what you will do is let's look back at the course book. Down here, you're going to create a slideshow. You are going to reference the article structure in the slideshow. So you are going to have an introduction, methods, results, discussion. You're going to talk a little bit about each one of those. Like I said, you can get a lot of that information from the abstract, but you'll want to go into those sections just to kind of skim around a bit to see if you're missing anything that's important. You're going to have a slide for each one of those. You're going to have a references slide that has the APA cited reference for that article. This is the book that you're required to have in this class. There's also some online resources to be able to cite an article using APA. These are all skill sets that we're developing now because you're going to use them later. In this, I'm asking for a narration. I am aware that many of you do not have a version of PowerPoint or Keynote on your computer, the downloaded application for that. If you are using online resources such as online PowerPoint or other tools, it's harder to find a way to do the narration. So I'm giving you a choice on this. You can do the narration. If you have PowerPoint or Keynote on your computer, easy smeezy. Just record narration. You record it, send me the original file, the PowerPoint file with the recording embedded in it. Or in the notes section, getting to know how PowerPoint and Keynote works, in the notes section there's a place where you can write your speaker notes. You can actually write your comments there. Your slides should be very simple. Use depending on the number, like some people, it's like 5x4, 5x7 rule, and that is no more than 7 words across, no more than 5 lines deep after the title. 7 by 5. Keep it. Don't pack it with text. Don't want to see that. If there's a lot to say, put that in the notes, or you're talking about them out loud. My slides remain very simple, just bullet points, and my talking is where all the detail goes in. So if we look at this grading rubric, we have slideshow format, the article structure, write in a slide for each one of those sections, the reference for the article that you're looking at, their narration, or the notes section filled in with what you would have said, and of course mechanics and spelling and all that. So this is a journey into reading stuff that's hard to read. Go into it with that notion. If you go in and like, wow, this is really hard to read, just like Mark said, it's hard to read. And so hard to understand. It's hard to grasp. So you gotta wrestle with it a little bit to over time to get better and better at it. So that's it for this week. This is the assignment, just getting that done. Have a great week. I will see you online, and take care.